Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, book lovers. It's time for another random page from a random book. Please try to contain your excitement. I'm actually very excited today because the book I've chosen at random is a real treat for me. It's, I'll tell you why, who it's by and the title in a moment. But the book is all about Prague. And those of you, anyone who's for any strange reason has read any of my books, you'll know they're very much about Czechoslovakia, Czech and Slovak history, political history, etc. So it's a real treat, put it that way. I love that area of the world. I spend a lot of time in Prague, the surrounding areas, and Slovakia. And this is one of the reasons why I was drawn to this book. When I was writing my first one I started probably back in 2012, 13, and I was researching stuff and wanted to read stuff not just by Czech and Slovak authors, although I did, and so many things we could talk about that, but also I suppose people's perspectives of that country who weren't born there. One of the books I came to, which I really enjoyed, was the one I picked at random today. So I'm thrilled, and it is The Bone Church by Victoria Dougherty. It's a tremendous story. I'll tell you a little bit about Victoria, and we'll read a random page from it in a moment. But just in case you're wondering what the Bone Church is, it isn't just a fantastic title. There are bone churches all over the world, I expect, and the one in Prague is very much a feature of reality, not just fiction. The Bone Church, it's not a scary place, although it depends on your point of view, I suppose. It's actually an ossuary, officially the Sedlec ossuary, which is found on the side of the church at, get my pronunciation right, Kutná Hora, I think, which is just outside Prague. It's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's beautiful. And it is basically as it sounds. It's an ossuary, so that the remains of the deceased are built into the walls, and it presents a very gothic environment, and it can be quite intimidating. Perfect setting for a story. A little bit about the church. I think it was back in the 13th century. The abbot of the monastery on site at the time travelled to the Holy Land and brought back with him allegedly some earth from Golgotha, where Christ was buried, and scattered it around the cemetery at the abbey. And from that point, it became kind of like the in place to be buried or interned when the rich and famous of that era passed away. So it became a bit almost like I suppose a celebrity church, if you like. And then later on, of course, around about a bit late, when the Black Death was rampaging through Europe, and that combined with the Hussite wars meant that basically there were an awful lot of bodies to be buried and not enough room to bury them. At that time, of course, cremation was very much frowned upon by the church. So there was an awful lot of, I suppose, excess remains, which needed something to be done with them. So around about 1400-ish, the Gothic church that exists now was originally built, and it contained an upper level that was to be used as an ossuary, and essentially the bones and remains of many people. I did used to know how many people were roughly there, but I don't now. I'm old. These things don't stay in my mind anymore. But yeah, the bones were laid out, and it's a tremendously tremendously moving sight when you see it. There is a legend attached to it, as there so often is, that the person responsible for arranging the bones was a monk with significant sight problems, and the legend goes that after he had put these bones in place, he got his sight back. Fantastic. But anyway, enough of me geeking on about these things. I love Prague, I love its history, and any chance to read an excerpt about one of these areas is an absolute dream for me. So anyway, The Bone Church. This is by, as I said, Victoria Dougherty, published by Pier's Court Press. A little bit about Victoria first. Victoria writes fiction, drama, and essays that often revolve around spies, killers, curses, and destinies. Her work's been published or profiled in the New York Times, USA Today, International Herald Tribune, and elsewhere. Earlier in her career while living in Prague, excellent choice, She co-founded the Black Box Theatre, translating, producing and acting in several Czech plays. Presently lives with her husband and children in Charlottesville, Virginia. So that's a bit about Victoria. The story then itself, as you can probably get a taste for what Victoria writes about, this shouldn't be too much of a surprise. So, in the surreal and paranoid underworld of wartime Prague, fugitive lovers Felix Andel and Magdalena Ruza make some dubious alliances with a mysterious Roman Catholic cardinal, a reckless sculptor intent on making a big political statement, and a gypsy with a risky sex life. As one of their chances for fleeing the country collapse, the two join a plot to assassinate Hitler's nefarious Minister of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels. But the assassination attempt goes wildly wrong, propelling the lovers in separate directions. Felix's destiny is sealed at the Bone Church, a mystical pilgrimage site on the outskirts of Prague, while Magdalena is thrust even deeper into the bowels of a city that betrayed her and a homeland soon to be swallowed by the Soviets. As they emerge from the shadowy fog of World War II and stagger into the foul haze of the Cold War, Felix and Magdalena must confront the past and a dangerous, uncertain future. Excellent stuff. And it really is a book that grips right from the first page. The depictions of everyday life in a wartime environment are tremendous, and the conflicting tensions as the plot moves along really do make it a worthwhile read. So please go out and read it. Anyway, in keeping with Random Page from a Random Book, which is what we're all here for, both of you, we're going to flick to a random page, and I'm going to read it to you. Full of mistakes, full of me tripping over words, but I have at least remembered my glasses. What do you think of it so far? Rubbish! Anyway, here we go. We'll stop here, shall we? Oh, we've got a choice. So I'm going to start at page 134, and we're going to read that to you, and I will endeavour to make it as interesting as possible, and that my dead monotone voice doesn't bore you to absolute tears. Finally, they focused on the shine of a gold canine tooth that glimmered from the side of a German officer's mouth. A square bandage lay in the middle of the man's forehead. Felix stared until the gold-toothed officer, perhaps sensing him, turned his face, the bandage staring back at Felix like a third eye. "That man with the bandage," he whispered. "He was one of the Germans chasing us the night of the fire." "You're staring at him," Svoboda said. "Now smile and wave." "That's right." Felix waved like a German with closed fingers and a flat palm. Svoboda nodded at the man as well, like he'd shared a drink with them at a party somewhere. The gold-toothed man didn't acknowledge their greetings, but let his eyes linger on Felix before fixing his gaze back on his skinny girlfriend. "I have to go to the toilet," Felix said. In the men's room, Felix leaned against the gold-flecked tiles. Splashing cold water on his face, he drank some of it and wiped himself down with a white linen cloth. He dampened the linen and swabbed the back of his neck, folding the cloth and placing it in his pocket when he was done. Exiting the toilet, he walked past the now empty bare table where the gold-toothed German had sat. Felix went straight to the bar at the front of the cafe, ordering vodka. Upon hearing Felix's check, the bartender insisted on immediate payment, wiggling the drink between his fingers and holding it out to Felix's reach, the way a housewife clutches her pocketbook in front of a gypsy vendor. "I'm with him," Felix gestured to Svoboda's table. The bartender stepped backwards, his lip quivering, and spilled a good quarter of the vodka out of the glass. "It's on the house," he said. "On me." Interesting page. So that was, yes, one of the pages from The Bone Church by Victoria Dougherty. Great stuff. I really do encourage you to pick up a copy if you can. Go to Victoria's website. If I ever learn how to do video editing or anything like that, I'll start putting links in and all that kind of stuff. But for now, Google is good for you, I think. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to try and do a few more of these a little bit more regularly. We'll see how they go. Leave comments if you like, or don't. That's equally fine. And hopefully we'll be back soon with something else. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed The Bone Church. Have a good day. Take care.